What is something that was once considered to be a legend or myth that eventually turned out to be true? Mountaineers found a small lake in the Himalayas, absolutely covered in bones. As they searched, they found the bodies of at least 200, as well as potentially up to 3 times that many in the lake itself. All of them died of blunt force trauma from what appeared to be a rock slide, but there was no sign of any such rocks. According to legend, Raja Jasdhaval, the king of Kannauj, was traveling with his pregnant wife, Rani Balampa. They were accompanied by servants, a dance troupe, and others as they traveled on a pilgrimage to Nanda Devi Shrine, for the Nanda Devi Rajat, which takes place every 12 years. As they traveled, they were overcome by a sudden, severe hailstorm with extremely large hailstones. The storm was too strong, and with nowhere to take shelter, the entire group perished. It was long thought to be a legend, but now they think it actually happened, almost exactly the way it was said to have happened. Saraswati River in India was considered a myth, a stuff of mythological texts and such. No one could actually confirm its existence, but there was a millennia-long speculation about why did the river feature so much in late Bronze Age, Vedic, Indian literature if it was not real, alongside actual and real major rivers. It was even deified as a goddess, a prospect reserved for major rivers. Yet no one had an idea about where it was later on. Fast forward to 19th century, Indians and the British surveying the land discovered an entire dry river valley in the middle of the desert, not far from location mentioned in ancient texts. It roughly runs behind the modern India-Pakistan border. Many wondered where the lush and prosperous Saraswati floodplain mentioned in Vedic texts went, and why did the river dry up? The most common theory today is that the river, while real, suffered drastic effects in the massive climate change of late 6th century AD, and lost its course. The mention of it in imperial texts disappears by the next century. Parts of the river lingered around until 9th century, but increasing desertification eventually killed it completely, and the river passed from memory. It remains like that today, just a faintly recognizable river valley in the middle of the desert. Prion diseases like mad cow and fatal familial insomnia and Kuru. They are caused by a protein malformation and yet are communicable, which was thought to be impossible by epidemiologists. And yet here we are with prion diseases caused by genetics, fatal familial insomnia, by consumption of brain tissue, mad cow, Creutzfeldt-Jakob, Kuru, and now by pathogen, chronic wasting disease. The case was essentially cracked in part by a teenager in Italy. The scientist who first made the discovery in Papua New Guinea was a pedophile, so he was discredited, which is part of why it took so long. There's a fascinating book called The Family That Couldn't Sleep, I think, that traces the history and the science behind prions. The ancient Greeks knew about atoms. Of course they couldn't prove it, but they arrived at the conclusion that atoms have to exist. They thought about something decaying. Eventually something will rot and rot until there's nothing visible left. If everything that decays truly disappeared entirely, then the world would have less matter in it as time went on. Eventually all the matter would disappear. So they figured there must be some tiny bits of matter that never go away and just get recycled. You'd be amazed at what people can figure out without modern technology. Edit. I didn't mean they knew about atoms at literal modern day understanding. Obviously they couldn't have figured out electrons, protons, neutrons, and fundamental particles without technology and experiments. I meant they had a concept of a smallest piece of matter. Tang Dynasty, China's second dynasty according to traditional historiography. Until the 20th century, there was no direct evidence that it had existed besides records describing it left behind by dynasties that came centuries after them, and it was ascribed semi-mythical status. Then one day somebody realized that dragon bones being ground up by a bunch of villagers to make medicines were actually oracle bones, the first direct written evidence of the Shang dynasty's existence left by the dynasty itself. The dynasty preceding the Shang, the Xia dynasty, is still considered mythical, and since it precedes writing, its existence is harder to verify. Edit. Archaeologists have however recently found evidence of a massive flood on the Yellow River 4,000 years ago that has been suggested to correspond with the Great Flood of the Xia dynasty's founding myth. It was widely regarded to be a myth that the first emperor of a united China, Qin Shi Huang, built a massive replica of his empire as his mausoleum. The stories said he had thousands of statues of soldiers constructed to guard his empire in the afterlife and had an underground palace with rivers of mercury. In 1974, more than 8,000 terracotta warriors were uncovered in Xi'an, China. I visited the site a few years ago. The area around Xi'an is mostly flat with mountains in the distance. When we were approaching the site, our guide pointed to a large hill near the site and told us that underneath is where the mausoleum is, an enormous palace. They have only uncovered a few football fields worth of warriors, a small portion of the total, and are very cautious about excavating since it is rumored to have traps. Have you never visited some mysterious ancient tomb filled with old treasures of long-fallen kingdoms? The starter kit usually includes poison darts, heavy falling stone doorways, obscure animals that have been breeding in the darkness for eons, swinging spikes, spiky rocks, sharpened wooden sticks and all that fuzz. If you go deluxe, you can usually get at least one monumental trap for free, usually that kind that you step onto and the whole chamber including you gets buried by 1,800 tons of sand. Gorillas. Giant squid. Before they were documented, they only existed in stories for a long time. This reminds me of a story I heard about the duck-billed platypus. When the first stuffed specimen was brought back to the West, nobody believed it was a real animal, just different animal parts stitched together. Had to search to confirm, but we discovered they were real, kind of, in 1925 by finding their tentacles inside a sperm whale, natural enemies. And they were obviously too big to be from what you'd immediately think of when talking about squid. Past that we got mostly bits and pieces, beaks, tentacles, markings on whales, until 1981 when a Russian trawler caught an immature female squid at 13 feet long. From what I can find, they suspect an adult can be around 39 to 45 feet in length and 16501 bs. But the biggest catch we've had was in 2007 and that was 15 feet 1091 pounds, so that's mostly speculation. I cannot find anything credible. Hoax videos and websites that I don't recognize and don't find credible, on anything washing ashore, which makes sense as they're deep-sea creatures and their fights with sperm whales are at great depths, so their corpses wouldn't be too likely to wash on your local beach. The Living Islands. A group of sailors land and explore a new island, one they have never seen before, in an area they know well. It is covered with ancient waterlogged trees and the corpses of unknown eldritch creatures. Spanning 100 or so meters, the isle appeared to have risen overnight. During the night they light a fire from driftwood. Moments later the great beast upon whose back they now rested gives a great fiery roar and dives beneath the waves as they scurry back to their ship, which is nearly pulled down by the anchor. There are versions of this from the Mediterranean, the Western Indian Ocean and the South China Sea. Despite the strange co-occurrence of the thousands of years old myth, everyone thought this was a completely baseless until our island rose from the depths outside Pakistan a few years ago, floating on a cushion of methane. Some hapless locals go aboard, light a few of the vents and lo and behold, the island roared fire until it sank a few days later. Sure, it's not alive by today's standards, but that seems like a fair guess by the ancient sailors who probably spent the rest of their lives trying to tell people. The Tranquil Lake. The locals in a region of Africa repeatedly told European settlers that a particular lake was cursed. It had been holy to some old tribe whose god got angry and slew them all. There was nothing strange about the lake itself, except that it didn't contain the usual fish. Settlement and forced resettlement began shortly. Better part of a century later, the curse struck and the village was completely wiped out. The local populace, most of their cattle, and nearly all smaller life died. The deaths of every insect, bird and beast of the jungle within miles made for the eerie silence which had given the lake its name in ages past. Hundreds had died. The survivors, shaken to their very core, whispered of demons and the stank of brimstone. The dead appeared to have died without wounds or signs of disease. Later the local priest spoke of how the lake had turned blood red and remained so for weeks. Beyond religion, no one knew what had happened, and after a time, the rest of the world concluded the tall tales of the deadly Red Lake must have been bullshit. That changed with the Lake Nyos disaster a century later. Cropsey. I remember him being brought up in a thread many years ago in the early days of Something Awful, in a What's a Local Scary Thing for You thread. Was just a spooky myth about a spooky boogeyman who lived in the steam tunnels under CUNY Staten Island and Willowbrook State School, who kidnapped, molested, and murdered little kids. Turns out he was a real dude called Andre Rand who kidnapped and murdered an estimated 5 children and special needs adults over a period of 12 years in the 70s and 80s. He had been in prison since 1988 for kidnapping, but came back into the spotlight in 2004 when he was brought to trial and convicted for a second kidnapping. NY state lacks a statute of limitations on kidnapping. In 2009, a documentary, from what I understand it is very sensational and plays up the supernatural Satan worship scare angle, called Cropsey was released. Ernest Hemingway was convinced that the US government was actively spying on him and monitoring his every movements. He was so adamant about it that he became severely paranoid, but people, including his family and close friends, generally disregarded that claim, assuming this was a result of his deteriorating mental health and alcoholism. It wasn't until he committed suicide that the FBI revealed they had been monitoring him ever since World War II for fear of him being a communist. Now it's believed this surveillance is one of the causes that led him to become depressed, and the ensuing suicide. A boiling river in the Amazon. TL. Doctor of the story as I heard it on Weird Wonders of the World. Back in Conquistador days, Spanish explorers went into the jungle. When they came out, one of the many stories they told was of a boiling river that killed any living thing that fell in. Some guy heard these stories growing up, went into geology, and asked around about it. Nobody in academia knew of any such river, so he gave up. He mentions the topic among family in a too bad it's not real way, and his aunt says but it is. She takes him to some locals and he takes a trip to see it. It totally is, and it is boiling, not just pretty hot. It's way hotter and larger than anything else in the area, and they are not sure yet why/how that much geothermal activity is going on at that spot. The Hobbits of Flores. The local people had an oral tradition of stories about these little people. It was considered to be a myth or a legend, until the bones were found. Interestingly, the locals have stories of the hobbits up until the 19th century. Presumably these later stories are myths, because we never found bones that recent. But what if? For those who may misunderstand, the Flores men are an extinct species of human noted for their short, hobbit-like size that lived on the Indonesian island of Flores somewhere between 50 to 200,000 years ago, possibly even more recently, and I honestly kind of wish the stories of them existing up to or even beyond the 19th century were true. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like or dislike the video accordingly. If you subscribe to Indie TTS, you will get more entertainment every day, and this is definitely not a myth. See you in the next video.